Hello, I'm Don Dawson. Today we're going to discuss how you, as a foreman or supervisor, must deal responsibly with drug and alcohol abuse in your workplace. As a supervisor, you need to respect a worker's private life. But what if one of your workers had too much to drink last night, or another worker smoked some dope over the weekend? How about the employee who has been taking medications that could impair their ability to work safely? When substance abusers arrive at work, they don't leave their problems at the door. What these employees are doing both on and off duty could cause them to have a serious accident. Substance abuse is a huge worldwide problem. In the United States alone, there are over 50 million binge drinkers, 17 million illegal drug users, and almost 15 million people who abuse prescription medications. Most substance abusers have jobs. In fact, it's estimated that 1 out of every 10 workers has a substance abuse problem. So it's likely that your company will employ a substance abuser at some point. An employee with an alcohol or drug problem can decrease productivity, create a hostile work environment, and damage your company's good name. Worst of all, the actions of a worker who is under the influence can completely undermine your company's efforts to keep people safe. Substance abusers have more than 3 times as many accidents and injuries as typical employees. They use 2 times the amount of medical benefits and file more than twice as many workers' compensation claims. As a result, it's estimated that higher insurance rates, damage to equipment and materials, and other expenses related to alcohol and drug use in the workplace cost American businesses over $100 billion every year. But the price of substance abuse cannot be calculated in financial terms alone. A substance abuser's family, friends, and co-workers can all pay a heavy emotional toll. And if the abuser causes an accident, someone may even lose their life. Lawsuits stemming from a substance abuser's actions can directly jeopardize your career and financial well-being as well. So you must be able to recognize and deal with these situations before they get out of control. It's your responsibility to keep your workers safe and productive, and ensuring that your workers are sober and drug-free is one of the most important duties that you have. Alcohol and drug abuse in the workplace is such a serious problem that the Department of Labor, Department of Transportation, and other federal and state agencies have laws and regulations regarding substance abuse that you must be familiar with. OSHA's General Duty Clause requires employers to provide working conditions which are free from recognized hazards that are causing or are likely to cause death or serious physical harm. Substance abuse is considered a recognized hazard, so to be in compliance, you must ensure that an employee who appears to be using alcohol or drugs does not pose a danger to themselves or others. If your company employs transportation employees with safety-sensitive jobs, such as truck drivers, dispatchers, or mechanics, then you will have to follow the Department of Transportation's Procedures for Workplace Drug and Alcohol Testing Programs, Rule 49 CFR Part 40. This regulation requires that these employees undergo random alcohol and drug testing. It also specifies that they must be removed from safety-sensitive tasks and be given a substance abuse test if there is a reasonable suspicion that they are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. At the same time, since substance abuse is considered an illness, you must be careful that you don't violate an employee's privacy or other civil rights. If your company employs 15 or more people, you must also comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. This stipulates that you may not discriminate against a worker who is trying to overcome a substance abuse problem. Even when this act does not apply, an abuser may be able to file a lawsuit and collect damages if it appears as though they were discharged or otherwise punished without being given a chance to enter a substance abuse treatment program. Dealing with substance abuse takes more than just conforming to various regulations. You need to actively strive to have a work environment that encourages sobriety. That's why it's important for all companies, regardless of their size, to have drug and alcohol-free workplace policies and procedures in place. At a minimum, your company should have a written drug and alcohol policy, periodic education sessions on substance abuse prevention for all employees, and in-depth training for foremen and supervisors on preventing and dealing with substance abuse. Your company may also conduct various forms of alcohol and drug testing to identify substance abusers, as well as provide resources such as employee assistance programs, EAPs, to help employees and their families deal with substance abuse and other issues. At the heart of this effort to keep substance abuse at bay is your company's written drug and alcohol policy. This should be distributed to all of your workers on the job site, including temporary employees and contractors. The policy should clearly state what behaviors employees are prohibited from engaging in, such as consuming alcohol immediately prior to or during the workday, possessing, selling, distributing, or using illegal drugs, and operating machinery or motor vehicles while using medications that can impair the senses. The policy should reflect both federal and state laws, but be tailored to fit your company's specific needs. It should also take into account the type of work that your workers perform. For instance, if you have armed security guards on staff, the drug and alcohol policy should spell out that they must not handle firearms if they have been drinking or using drugs of any kind, including medications that may cause drowsiness. The consequences for breaking the rules should be spelled out in the policy as well. They can include suspension from safety-sensitive duties, mandatory participation in a substance abuse rehabilitation program, and for serious offenses, termination. The policy should also include guidelines to follow if a worker is suspected of being under the influence of alcohol and drugs. In most cases, supervisors are instructed to report the situation to the Human Resources Department or someone who has been specifically trained to handle alcohol and drug abuse situations. The best way to deal with a potential substance abuser is to catch them before they have a problem. So your company should hold regular education sessions for all employees and supervisors. Topics that should be covered include the effects of alcohol and drugs on health, safety, and personal life, the impact substance abuse has on work performance, recognizing the signs of alcoholism and drug addiction, how to report substance abuse in the workplace, and resources available to help employees overcome alcohol and drug problems. Each session should include an in-depth review of your company's drug and alcohol policy to make certain that workers understand the rules they must follow. If the company conducts alcohol and drug testing, workers should be told why the testing is necessary and what it will entail. Many employees feel that testing violates their right of privacy and questions their character. Since your workers may have these misgivings, it's important that they realize that testing is to help eliminate substance abuse and keep everyone safe, healthy, and productive. There are 5 types of substance abuse tests that are typically given. Pre-employment tests are used to screen out illegal drug users before they are hired. Reasonable suspicion tests are given when there are indications that a worker is under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. Post-accident tests are used to determine if substance use may have contributed to a mishap. Return to duty tests verify that workers who have been removed from safety-sensitive jobs due to substance abuse are on the road to recovery and can safely resume their normal job functions. And random tests, which are given without notice and by luck of the draw, and ensure that workers are not violating the company's drug and alcohol policy. Alcohol and drug testing can help to prevent substance abuse by making workers think twice about taking illegal drugs or using alcohol on the job. But remember, testing is not infallible. A worker could be a substance abuser and still pass a test. There are many types of drugs, and only a few can be tested for at one time. Alcohol and some other drugs also pass through the body quickly, so they can only be detected a few hours after they were last used. And there is always the possibility that a substance abuser has doctored their sample to make it appear as though they are clean. One of the most effective ways to detect substance abuse is to look for anything unusual in a person's behavior. Anyone who is under the influence can be a safety hazard. So in addition to your own workers, you should pay attention to delivery drivers and other foremen and their crews as well. The way a substance abuser acts depends largely on the type of drug that they take. Depressants such as alcohol, marijuana, and tranquilizers slow down brain activity, making a person sluggish. Stimulants, including cocaine, crack, and methamphetamine, stir up the brain, causing a person to become abnormally active. Narcotic analgesics such as heroin, morphine, and OxyContin numb the senses, rendering a person virtually impervious to pain. And hallucinogens like LSD alter the way that the brain processes information, causing a person to see, hear, taste, and feel things that aren't really there. Drug use can also result in extreme mood swings. For instance, when someone is high on cocaine, they may be giddy, energetic, and extroverted. Once the effects wear off, they can rapidly come down and can be angry, depressed, and withdrawn. The amount of a substance that a person uses and the way that their body reacts to it will also influence how they behave. For example, a single glass of wine tends to relax most people and make them more sociable. But everyone reacts differently when they drink too much. Some people fall asleep, others become the life of the party. And there are also drinkers who get anxious, depressed, aggressive, angry, or even violent. If you do notice a worker behaving oddly, you should look for other more concrete signs of substance abuse. Alcohol is by far the most commonly abused substance both on and off the job. Workers who are drinking on the job will often try to conceal alcohol by hiding it in their thermoses or mixing it with coffee, juice, or other beverages. Marijuana, on the other hand, is the most frequently abused illegal substance. It is usually smoked in either small pipes or rolled into joints, which you may see in an abuser's work area. Pot smoke is also very pungent, and its odor can linger on a worker's clothing for hours. Bloodshot eyes are a common side effect of marijuana use as well, and you might see an abuser wearing sunglasses to try to hide the fact that they have been getting high. In recent years, tranquilizers, codeine, OxyContin, and many other prescription drugs have also become common substances to abuse. Many of these medications are chemically similar to heroin and other illegal drugs, making them just as addictive and deadly. Medical privacy laws can often prevent you from questioning a worker on their medication use. However, if an employee drives company vehicles, operates machinery, or performs other tasks that require them to be completely alert, you can insist that they tell you if they are taking medications that may cause drowsiness or other impairment. Some workers even abuse solvents, gasoline, glue, and other chemicals that they work with by purposely inhaling the fumes. So you should talk to any employee who appears to be sniffing these materials. Remember, it's your job to ensure that workers who handle these substances are wearing the proper respiratory protection. At some point in your career, you are likely to supervise an employee who appears to have a substance abuse problem. But remember, unusual behavior doesn't necessarily mean that a worker is drinking or using drugs.
Everyone has bad days. A person may be acting abnormally due to a medical condition or some other problem. So don't jump to conclusions and never try to handle the situation alone. If you do believe that a worker may have a substance abuse problem, consult your company's drug and alcohol policy to find out what actions to take. A policy will most likely direct you to first report the situation to a substance abuse expert within your company. They will work with you regarding the next steps that should be taken. Never accuse an employee of substance abuse. It's not your job to be a police officer. Diagnose a worker's substance abuse problem or act as their therapist. Your responsibility is to ensure that your employees are performing their jobs effectively and safely. There are no generic ways to handle a worker who has a possible alcohol or drug problem. The employee's apparent level of impairment, their job functions, and the potential for them having a serious accident are some of the factors that dictate how the situation must be dealt with. One of the best approaches is to focus on a suspected alcohol or drug abuser's performance. Substance abusers usually have a lot of difficulty functioning on the job. By keeping written performance reports and safety records for all of your workers, you will be prepared to deal with anyone's performance or safety issues regardless of the cause. Always stick to the facts when making notes about a worker's performance. For instance, if one of your workers seems to continually struggle with their job after they return from lunch, you should record each incident and the date. If you smell alcohol in their breath, you can jot that down, but you generally don't want to indicate that they were drunk. Just list the facts, the date, and the time without drawing conclusions. It may take weeks of incident reports before you can establish a pattern of poor performance that justifies confronting a worker. But immediate intervention is needed anytime an employee's actions could endanger themselves or others. For example, workers who drive vehicles or operate equipment or power tools should not be permitted to perform these tasks if they appear to be under the influence. If it's determined that a worker does have an alcohol or drug problem, they will usually be required to enter a rehabilitation program. This can be with an outside group or agency or through the company's EAP program if one exists. Remember, your company's objective is to eliminate substance abuse, not people, and they will do whatever they can to help an employee's rehabilitation efforts.
Alcohol and drug-free workplaces are safer and more productive, so you need to do your part to combat substance abuse. Let's review.
Know what you have to do to comply with laws and regulations that require workplaces to be drug and alcohol free. Understand how the Americans with Disabilities Act applies to substance abusers. Make sure that all of your workers have a written copy of your company's drug and alcohol policy. See that all of your employees participate in substance abuse prevention education. Know the signs of alcohol and drug use. Keep detailed performance and safety records for each of your employees. Consult your company's drug and alcohol policy if you suspect that a worker may have a substance abuse problem. And intervene immediately if an employee's actions create a dangerous situation.
As a supervisor, you can help prevent substance abuse by letting your workers know that you expect them to be sober and drug-free so that they can work safely and productively.